here we are in the middle of the coronavirus, and we're heading off on a road trip. See what it's like out on the road. So come along. Here we go, girl. Another
Texas.
road trip.
Texas, here we come.
Hey, my YouTube friends. I wanted to make a video in all this insanity. It's a strange time when you can get an abortion, but you can't go to the barber shop. And you can't go to church with 300 people, but you can sit shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, knee to knee with 300 people in an airplane and travel wherever you want. These are strange times, and I just encourage everyone to make sure you're not deceived by what's really going on, which is getting us used to this. But I wanted all of you to know that I took a road trip in all this insanity and wanted to tell you a little bit about it. My son, he works for a university in Texas, and he's the farm manager. And of course, when all the universities shut down, that means that all of his help, which is students, they all went home, and so kind of left him alone on the farm. So Julie and I decided to drive down there from our farm and go to his farm and help him out, because it's calving season and fences to mend and animals to take care of. So we went down for about 2 weeks, and it was quite interesting driving down to Texas amidst all this, especially coming home on Sunday. It was really interesting because we left pretty early in the morning and nobody was out. Every church was shut down. There was no cars in any. Of course, you know, in Texas there's a lot of churches. There was a lot of people probably staying at home and going to online church, but nobody was on the road. And then once we got on some of the major roads, it was mainly just trucks with a few cars. But I wanted to give you my impression of the road trip we took. I took the truck mainly because I trust it now that I've had it for, going for more than a year, and it gets pretty decent fuel mileage. But mainly I didn't want to get stuck somewhere, and I took enough diesel that I could go all the way down there, and then if I had to, I could fill back up at the farm and come all the way back. But of course, fuel was not a problem. Plenty of people out fueling up at their local gas stations, buying chips and drinks, but we just fueled up. We only stopped to get fuel and come home. So my social footprint wasn't very big. Stayed on the farm and worked on the farm, and then just drove home. But it's about 900 miles to his farm, and did it all in one day. And the truck, my impressions of the truck driving that far is that it's really pretty comfortable, all in all. I mean, for a truck that's 30 years old. It got 18 miles to the gallon, which I thought was pretty good because I had all my tools. I had enough diesel to get me there. I had all of our stuff and then a few extra things just in case. So I'm thinking I'm weighing about 9,000 pounds right now, and got 18 miles to the gallon, so that's pretty good.
Oh boy.
It. I think it was only 6 inches deep, but it looked a lot more.
It did. It was kind of ominous.
I really like my new tires, and here's why. Number one, you guys know from the last video I put new tires on it. These are Cooper tires. They're about 34.5 inches tall. They're 315 75/16s, and I mean, they're tight. In fact, I was hitting a little bit right here. I'm going to have to do just a little bit of trimming right there so they don't catch. I mean, it never did anything to my tires, but what I did like about these tires is how smooth they are on the road, and they're pretty quiet, but they take potholes really good. And since the tire pressure at 65 is where they're set at, is a little better than my Michelin's, which were at 80, and the footprint's bigger, they really take the bumps out of the imperfections in the road, and I was really impressed by that. I think that maybe the fact that they're so wide might have hurt my fuel mileage a little bit, but the biggest plus to having the 34.5-inch tire was my gear ratio. I have 410 gears, and going down the highway at 75 to 78 is usually where I was running. I was only turning 21.5 RPMs, 2150, and that seemed to be a pretty sweet spot for the Cummins motor, and it puts me right about at the same speed as a lot of the truckers, and maybe a little faster than some truckers, but kind of right in line with where everybody else. Of course, people, you know what's amazing is when I only saw one cop on the road during that 900 miles, and a lot of the cars out there were just flying by, which I thought was interesting. But I don't like going that fast. I mean, 75 is even fast to me, but it's comfortable. But it lowered my RPMs by, I think, about 12, maybe, or like 100 to 200 RPMs, which brought it down from 24 down to 22 when I'm traveling at about 78 miles an hour. And that probably helped out on fuel mileage a little bit. But it went without a glitch, all our travels. So we're somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, actually Lamar, Colorado, and I needed a potty break. I didn't want to go to the gas station, you know, I got to keep my social distance. Do you need to go?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Hey, it's a good stop. I'm keeping my social distance here. In fact, I don't even see anyone else for miles. I guess I'll be all right. Truck's running good though. The only time we stopped was to get fuel and to go to the bathroom. And I know this might sound funny, but I built my own toilet, my own little, I don't know, composting toilet that I put in the back. And so we just climb in the back and go to the bathroom, and we didn't even have to go inside to go to the bathroom. Not that I thought there was a problem. I mean, everybody, life in middle America is still pretty much the same. You know, there's just something about driving an old vehicle on the road that's, you know, 30 years older than anybody else on the road, and having pride in having something that's reliable, that's pretty decent on fuel, that can go anywhere and is relatively comfortable. Kind of interesting that I like the bench seat. Now some of you might think, well, you know, not near as comfortable bench seat, but Julie can actually lay and take a nap in the front seat. Those new springs that I put on make all the difference on the highway. This thing just glides over the bumps, especially with putting this much weight on it. I mean, it's just kind of like, and before it was, I can't tell you enough about how impressed I am about having those springs from ORD, from Off-Road Design. They're the ones that built them for me. I told them how much the truck weighed in the front axle, how much the back axle, and then they built the springs accordingly. And with the shackles that are greasable, it just makes the ride on this thing so much nicer. And I think it rides even better than some of my other vehicles. But we made it back safely. No incidents. I mean, really, life is pretty normal out there, other than the fact that nobody can do anything. I mean, farmers are working on their fields and road construction's going on. If you didn't work in some non-essential industry, you're out there working, and things are still getting done, and truckers are still delivering food. And I know this may seem a little harsh, but I really feel like that we went all about this all wrong. My thoughts on this whole coronavirus is the first thing they should have done is just shut down air travel completely, because that's what transfers germs from one continent to another. They send hundreds of people from all over who knows where in one plane, put them all together, everybody sitting shoulder to shoulder, and then they leave the airport and go about their business to thousands of locations all over the world. I think if we'd have just done one thing and just shut down air travel completely, that would have made a huge difference in the curve, because that's what they tell us. It's all about flattening the curve. Well, to me, yeah, sending kids home from school is a great idea, but to still allow people to travel from one continent to another and from one location that's full of people, like an airport, to another airport where there's thousands of people, it just seems crazy to me that we allow people to do that, but yet we won't let a few hundred people go to church and stay their distance away and not shake hands, which nobody's doing anymore. Well, anyway, it's good to be home and back to work. I'm taking advantage of all this time and working around the farm, cleaning up dead trees and cutting them up into firewood and smoothing out, you know, spots in the ground where I want it to look nicer. I mean, there's all around the farm, there's always something to do, never a lack of something to do. But thanks for joining me, and look forward to the next video.